What's going on YouTube? It is Texans Takeover back with another video. In today's video, we have another 7-round mock draft. You can see the Texans are at 26, and then they have the Commanders pick here at 39. Obviously, we're going to root for a Commanders loss this week. I believe they play the Giants or um, someone in the NFC East. Um, but if they do lose these games and teams like the um, Browns or Cardinals end up winning, I do believe that they jump the Washington Commanders and we would have an even higher second round pick. Um, but with that being said, the Commanders do in fact play the Eagles, so you don't expect them to pull that game through. So potentially that pick moves up to around the 5 or 6, but that would mean our second round pick moves up to 37 or 38 instead of at 39, but still we're in a great position with the amount of top 100 picks we have, especially considering that we are picking at 28. So we're just going to get this thing rolling, see what the first couple of picks are. I did a little different this mock draft. I did a lot more random instead of teams drafting for needs. I just said best player available, and you can see that with Caleb Downs going there at 2. Sonny Styles not going till 9, so you can see the little bit of a randomness peeking in through there. Um, oh no, that's Sonny Styles that went at 7. That's Arvell Reese that went at 11. Wow, I would never expect that, but it happened. Chiefs don't even go Jeremiah Love in this one, but we are here at 16, and we have the opportunity to draft Spencer Fano or uh, Olavega Ione. So what I'm going to do, and I think this is very dumb, um, but if you could pick up some capital here, um, they're just not interested. Okay. What about the Bears? They're not interested either. Okay. Well, then I guess it kind of ruins what I was gonna do. I was gonna trade down and try to get a little bit of draft capital from one of these dudes here. Maybe the Browns are interested. Um, they're just not interested either. Okay. So we're gonna stick and pick here at 26. I think, you know, the bright idea would be, since we're losing Trent Brown, to go with a tackle that's able to replace him. So I'm going to go with Spencer Fano in this one. I go Olavega Ione a lot. And it seems like he's falling down here in these mock drafts. I don't expect him to truly be there. But yeah, Spencer Fano is going to be the pick here at 26. And then we'll just patiently wait till our next pick here at 39. I wish CJ Allen would have fell a little bit. I could have traded up probably, but ultimately decided against it. It was Anthony Hill that was the first linebacker out in this class after, the Ohio State guys go. But it was Anthony Hill instead of CJ Allen as the linebacker 3 in this one, which is pretty interesting. Maybe CJ Allen would have been able to fall, but here we are at 39. If we can move down like 2 spots or so and still pick up a late second, early third, then I'd be interested. Maybe the Chiefs or something, or the Falcons. They seem pretty interested. I think if you can get this from the Falcons, with maybe 126 and a next year's fourth, something like that, I think that's what I'd be willing to do. I don't really want to give up 107. Um, so we're gonna offer this, see if it's accepted. It is, and we're gonna resume the draft. And Emmanuel Pregnon does go. That's who I was hoping out for. That's why I dropped to 47 because he was ranked a little bit lower, but great fit there in Miami, and it pretty much leaves me in a spot where I know exactly what I'm going to do because Amari Washington's here. I love Amari Washington's game. I pick him pretty much every time he's here for the Texans, so it's going to be my pick here at number 44. I think that's definitely a great pick for Houston, a great fit there. AJ Halsey does end up going um, at, where was it? I saw him at 46 to the Jets, so maybe that could have been the pick there at 44. Definitely would not argue against it because I do love AJ Halsey's game, but I think Amari Washington's more of an immediate need than AJ Halsey is, so that's my pick there at number 44. And that's why I go with the run stopper and Amari Washington, who can also get to the quarterback from the interior defensive line position, as we know we need with Tim Settle and Mario Edwards being hurt and not knowing their futures, as well as Danico Autry being a free agent. So some more D-line depth is pretty much needed in this draft, and I think Amari Washington's perfect there. So you see we go to trench players in the first 2 picks that we have, And now that we're at 58, um, you look at, positions of need. You go to linebackers, there's not much you really like here. I think Jake Golday would be perfect for us, or um, waiting a little bit and going Harold Perkins, as I do a lot later in the draft. I like Ernest Hausman's game, but it's just I don't know if he's ever going to play football again. Um, Other than that, in the interior offensive line, you have Connor Lew, you have Jake Slaughter, guys that are ranked pretty poorly if you're looking at Jake Slaughter compared to his average draft position. So maybe they changed it up a little bit, but they seem to like Connor Lew. Pat Coogan jumped up, so I guess there is new rankings. That's a guy that I really want the Texans to draft. Won the Rose Bowl MVP as an offensive lineman, so that tells you all you need to know. Lee Hunter is up here now just because he has the defensive line prototypical frame, um, instead of Skylar Gill Howard, who potentially could have dropped just because his frame isn't all that big. And I don't even. Oh, there he is. He's at 116. Um, so here at 58 with the Texans, I think this could be a trade down spot. Um, Potentially with like the Bears, and then you pick up their 93, if that's possible. Um, Chiefs want it. No one else really wants it, so we're just gonna stick and pick here. I'm gonna go with. I haven't done this in a while. I've started to prefer Jake Slaughter to Connor Lew, but I'm gonna go Connor Lew here at 58. Um, Yeah, I think just a very well rounded center. Only played 7 games this year, got hurt midway through the year. But you see that 2024, he was excellent in those games. So, yeah, I really don't mind that pick there for the Texans at 58 if we are able to upgrade at that center position. Here at 66, I think this could be another trade down spot if you get a team around like 70. So you look at the Browns, you could pick up like 219, um, maybe 145. If you go 140, 145, it's a 40% chance. So go something like this. Maybe go 106. No, okay. So we'll go 140, 219, and 245. And then probably like a next year's fifth or something. But this is all I'm going to offer here. Very late round picks. It has a very good chance of being accepted. So I don't know why it wasn't the first couple times, but moved down 4 spots to pick up 3 more draft picks. And our guy is still there that we wanted, and that is Jake Golday. I love his game. He seems to be rising up PFF um, draft boards, and I think that's a guy that could definitely take the Mike position off Aziz when he's done, and also complement him alongside him um, late or early in his career. So that's gonna be my pick there at number 70. Um, and it moves us to 76, where we pick up this Falcons pick by trading down from 39 to 44. Um, and it puts us in a position where you can just kind of go best player available here, and you don't have a pick till 107. So um, one position that you haven't addressed that I think is a position of need, and I think one of the best players in this class, but just not ranked well. I've said it a lot. I like Emmanuel McNeil Warren's game. Excuse me. I went with him in our AFC mock draft for I believe it was the Jaguars, and I really like that fit there. I like him fitting anywhere in the AFC South, to be honest. All teams that need safeties, and I think he'd complement Kalen Bullock very well. So I think this is a no-brainer here at 76. I think you could probably trade down to potentially like 82, pick up a pick from the Colts, and pick like maybe like 118 and 231 or something like that. 240, 247 we'll offer and see if that's accepted. Um, and we're going to resume this draft. Hopefully he does not go, and he does not. Emmett Johnson goes there, who I actually really like as well. But we're going to use this draft capital now, 118, 140, 219, to hopefully move up to like 85. Um, Maybe like 107, and then you go 118, 219. So we're going to use this extra draft capital to hopefully move up with the Packers. It has a 53% chance of being accepted, and it is ultimately accepted. So with this first pick here, we're going to go with Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I think a guy that we desperately need at that safety position. I talked about picking him at, I believe it was 76, where the Colts go D'Angelo Ponce, who I really like his game, but the only question about him is his height. He's 5'9", 173, so you're going to have to work your way around that. And then here at 85, um, I'm going to go with LJ Martin, but I'm going to try to set myself up well, we'll see. I wanted Pat Coogan. And he's up to 158, but I did go Connor Lew, so I'm gonna kind of scratch that idea there. But yeah, I really like L.J. Martin's game. That's who my next pick is going to be. I'm getting a better idea of the guys that I'd like to come to Houston, and I think L.J. Martin would be a perfect fit to complement Woody Marks if you want to go that direction. I like Keontae Scott as a potential backup corner, but I think that's a position that you could um, look at later in this draft process. So, yeah, the pick here is going to be L.J. Martin, a guy that I really like. I like him and Emmett Johnson as my two favorite backs post Jeremiah Love. You have your guys in the first round that you're not going to be able to obtain. So then you kind of just sit back, wait, and see who are the next best guys at those positions that you really like. And for me, that is L.J. Martin and Emmett Johnson from Nebraska. Here at 140, you're sitting at a position where you pretty much addressed everything you need. It's a really good sum of players and a really healthy draft class here. You didn't have a fourth round pick after trading up to 85 to draft L.J. Martin, but you're sitting here at 140, and you do have a lot of good options still here. Um, and I think something you could look at, as I talked or touched on earlier, is a backup corner that can, you know, come in when Kamari gets hurt. And, Kamari showed a little bit of injury in that Chargers game. Trevon Smith comes in, and Justin Herbert throws a 60-yard bomb to Quentin Johnston. The literal play that Kamari Laster is out for. So it shows that there's definitely a need in the backups category, especially at the corner position, just so you can rotate that guy in case Kamari's feeling something or Derek Stingley's feeling something. Um, I don't know what happened to Jalen Smith from USC. I think he got hurt, and I don't know if he's out for the rest of the year or what's the deal with him. But definitely need someone else at that corner position that can step up. We'll see how the Texans do this week because we have no Kamari Lassiter, so that'll be an interesting experiment. You could go Joy Royer here. Not really your prototypical blocking tight end that I believe Nick Caley likes to look at. If you look at the tight end class, I think Marlon Klein would be one of your better run blocking tight ends in this class, or potentially Oscar Delp. Um, Lawson Lucky is also a very decent run blocker. So, you have your schools that you kind of look at for, who's going to be a tight end that's going to do this. XYZ, Tanner Koziel is going to be your prototypical receiving tight end instead of your running tight end. Um, Miles Kitselman is pretty much a mixture of both. He's very similar to Marlon Klein in the way that Tennessee uses him, but obviously Marlon Klein is just blocking a little bit more because Michigan tends to run the ball a lot more. So, yeah, I think that's a position you could look at if you don't trust the health of Cade Stover or Brevin Jordan into next year, because we saw how limited we were at the tight end position after both those guys went down. But here at 140, you haven't really addressed the guard position. I think DJ Campbell is a very solid guard. He's also not the, oldest, just a true senior. He's going to be coming into the league at 22, 23. You could use Pat Coogan out there at guard if you really want to. He has very decent size. So you could kind of go wherever you want and mix and match guys and just build your offensive line. Trey Zune could potentially be your guard as well. I think he'd or move over to guard in the NFL. Same with Ernest Green. You can see the sizes there. But here at 140, I've been stuck at this pick for a while. I've been looking at this guy down the board a little bit. I like Jalen Kilgore's game, and I think he's a guy that might go back to college, but for now, I think he's good enough to be a backup corner for the Texans, so that's going to be my pick there at 140, and my draft crush just went in Pat Coogan there at 164. So, maybe you alter directions a little bit. One thing I am tempted on doing is actually going with Tanner Koziel, just because Dalton Schultz is on a contract year into next year. We don't know if we're going to re-sign him because he is aging a little bit, so there's potential there that, we just stay with him for 1 year and then let him go, and then you have Tanner Koziel, who's a great receiving tight end that can step up and hopefully develop as a run blocker, but a really really good pass catcher out the backfield. You can see the size he possesses, so I think that's definitely going to be the pick here for me at 165. Keeping the in city guy even in city. And we don't have a pick till like 237, so we're just gonna go turbo here. But I really like that pick. I like the fit just because of the uncertainty of Dalton Schultz after this next year. So that's why Tanner Koziel makes sense in my opinion. And you've pretty much addressed everything you need to besides guard, which albeit is a decently big need. I don't think it's the overarching need unless you get Olivega Ione in the first or Emmanuel Pregnon in the second, something like that. But yeah, the center guard position, it's pretty, you know, you get Connor Liu, and I think your guards look great with Titus Howard and Ed Ingram. Albeit, you have to see if you're resigning Ed Ingram or not, and that completely changes your draft strategy. But I have no idea what the Texans are going to do. I'm not in the Texans office, so um, you could look at guard. Connor Tollison is someone that could bump over to guard from the center position. I like Thomas Rumach. You look at his last year's tape; it was very very solid. Virginia Tech had a lot better of a year last year than this year. Davion Carter's also not bad. Just very well rounded guard. I think a little undersized, yeah, um, but performs well. I don't think he'd really work in the NFL though. Roger Kearney had a great 2024, but only played a limited number of games in both seasons. So, there's little bits of doubt there. I think he'll head back to college because he's only a redshirt sophomore. I think he's like 21. Jeremiah Wright's also not bad. Been healthy, showed a little bit of consistency throughout his collegiate career. So we're gonna pair him up back with Connor Liu and help out um, that guard position there in the seventh round. Someone that's probably not gonna play all too much, but there is depth there if you do need it. And I think it's a little bit like a Ladarius Henderson pick, who just never panned out for the Texans, but definitely has a little bit of flashes there to perform well. Here at 265 or 245, sorry, 265 doesn't even exist. I don't know why I said that, but you're kind of just going with guys that can provide depth and experience on the back end. And Peyton Bowen definitely does that. Been great for OU this year, and I think probably could rise up draft boards because he has prototypical safety size and he can play single high, he can play double high, and I think he'd be a great pick for the Texans there at 245 to bolster that safety room. So you'd have a rotation of Bullock, Maynard McNeil Warren, Peyton Bowen, and then Jalen Reed, or Jaden Reed, excuse me, if he comes back healthy. And then here at 247, you could go a lot of different areas. You don't know if you're having Mr. Davis Mills next year because he may move on to a starter role somewhere else. So you could look at quarterbacks and look for a backup who could pick up the slack when needed. And you could potentially go Sawyer Robertson, who's not bad. He can throw the rock very well. Just doesn't make the best decisions sometimes. But I don't think he's a bad quarterback at all. Tommy Castellanos doesn't really have the size or the frame to produce in the NFL. Kyron Jones is a very good rushing quarterback. If that's something you're intrigued in Houston, but uh, yeah, I think Sawyer Robertson could be a good backup for you if that's something you want to look at down the board. Um, so yeah, that concludes the draft. We'll see what they grade us. They grade us at a B plus. So they like the L.J. Martin picks. They like the Amari Washington, Spencer Fano picks, as well as Connor Liu, Jeremiah Wright, Peyton Bowen, and Sawyer Robertson. They don't like the Calzio, Kilgore, McWarren or McNeil Warren, excuse me, and Golday picks. But those are kind of some of my favorites in the draft in Koziel, McNeil Warren, and Golday. So we'll see. I do like the way that this draft turned out. Please let me know what y'all think down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe. The support has been tremendous. A lot of videos have hit 1,000 views recently, which I never expected. So thank y'all so much for that. So yeah, thank y'all. And as I just said, if you did enjoy these, please be sure to show some support by like and subscribing. And as always, it's Texans Takeover, and I'm out. Peace.